You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Of course, tonight in New Hampshire, you're going to have the debate taking place before the New Hampshire primaries take place next week. Now, we still don't even know who the hell won the Iowa caucus. They still got all kinds of drama. They're reporting 100% of the results in, but other folks say it is still riddled with significant errors. Now, of course, so it's really between Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg as to who won. Elizabeth Warren came in third. In fourth place, of course, was Vice President Joe Biden. Also in the debate tonight is going to be, of course, like I say, Biden, Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, Tom Steyer, Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang. The other candidates did not qualify for this debate. And Teresa, I want to start with you. I dare say the one person who has to come out smoking hot in this debate is Joe Biden. He cannot, I mean, the polls already show Sanders has widened his lead in New Hampshire. It's a neighboring state to Vermont. Elizabeth Warren, neighboring state, Massachusetts. She's a Massachusetts senator. Of course, Buttigieg is doing very well there as well. If you're Joe Biden and you come in fourth or fifth in New Hampshire, you're going to have to take first or second in Nevada before South Carolina, because guess what? His donors are going to get real nervous and money's going to dry up. He's going to be dealing with bad headlines. I mean, he can't get to South Carolina fast enough.
No, you're absolutely right. And listen, one of the swing states here is Pennsylvania. And so knowing some of the members on that campaign team, it's been very interesting on the conversations of, President Joe Biden, because we have statewide races that's happening here. But as he's campaigning, to these other states, the message is starting to get a little wicky. I believe his communications director was on CNN the other day, and she was pretty much saying that, the numbers weren't working. It almost was like a talking point from Trump's playbook as it relates to, something about the system is rigged. And it really became, disconcerting because, yes, you are the VP, but if you're not saying anything new, inspiring, or different, then your other candidates will be next in line to give those fresh ideas and new plans. So, yes, if you don't hit South Carolina, if you're not hitting Nevada headstrong, then you're going to be in some sort of controversy as it relates to your donor base and your community outreach strategies. Because, yes, here in PA, we're starting to see a shift, and it's just not looking good for VP Biden.
But here's the other thing, Joseph, I think is important people to understand. He keeps looking at South Carolina as being his firewall. Totally get it. But I'm telling you right now, I firmly believe that the black folks, you keep seeing these stories. Biden comes in fourth in Iowa. Then all of a sudden, if he comes in fourth in New Hampshire, and then he can't place in the top two in Nevada, remember, the whole thing about Biden's deal was that he could pull those white voters. Black people are going to be saying, damn, player, you can't pull them white folks in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. We don't necessarily know if you the guy.
No, I mean, everybody likes a winner, right? And I always have posited this from day one. The African-American vote is a BS detector. I mean, sure enough, they will figure out who is telling the truth, who is not. Hence, the suspicion on Bernie Sanders, hence the suspicion on Mayor Pete. And Biden, if he comes in weak, he is not going to do well in South Carolina. I think one of the important things to remember, however, is that he still does have that halo. I don't know how much longer it's going to last. We'll see. But that's one important thing to remember. The other thing is he's really not been a great candidate. I mean, he's come out as the front runner basically because people know his name, and he's the brand that they trust. But remember, in his last two bids for president in '88 and in '08, he never even made it past Iowa. I mean, in '08, he ended up dropping out before the Iowa caucuses. And in '08, he ended up getting trounced. I think he ended up like in the bottom tier coming out of Iowa. Therefore, he's never really been a very particularly strong presidential candidate, and his record is now coming to pass.
You know me, I like the ground truth stuff, so I got on the phone today. And folks are feeling like there's a big hole in the ship, and a lot of people are abandoning ship. Money is moving over to Bloomberg. That was money that was going to Biden. So, not a huge shift in the money yet. But as you said, If he doesn't do well soon, there's going to be some significant problems. And I think it's going to be different in South Carolina than a lot of other folks, because I think there are a couple of other candidates who are starting to move up the polls in a significant way because they actually been on the ground,
right,
holding
They've been talking to
hands.
people.
They've been building real relationships. They've been getting endorsements from black women and black men and other organizations there. So I wouldn't be surprised if you find that he's not the number one person in South Carolina.
First of all, Tom Starr has moved up to second place.
Yep.
Not only that, Teresa, when you begin to break down all of these different factors here, I mean, first of all, there's no one person that's a clear path to 1,900 delegates. So there's no one person. Obviously, this time around, you don't have the superdelegates having the kind of influence they had in 2016 and before that. And how I'm sort of looking at this whole deal, again, Biden was supposed to be, the person who look at all the polls, he can beat Trump in a head-to-head. But here's the piece. You can't fight Trump in the general until you win the nomination. And you got to win the nomination. And so now you begin to unpack this thing. And so now then you look at Bloomberg, okay? A lot of folks said, hey, he gets into the race because Biden was shaky. Now we're seeing Biden is shaky. We're seeing Bloomberg go up in the polls. Now, granted, here's the deal. Bloomberg has been flying at 30,000 feet, has not been doing lots of stuff on the ground, doesn't have a strong ground game. Now, he has the money to invest in the ground game, but he still is going to have to answer to stop and frisk. He's going to have to answer to why he did not do a settlement with the Central Park Five. He's going to have to answer to gentrifying neighborhoods in New York. And so avoid, thinking you can do all this sort of stuff and not answer any of those questions, that also is crazy. And then, of course, they've now changed the debate rules. He's now going to be in debates. Mm-hmm. If you're one of the other candidates, your deal has to be go hard at him to force him to answer those questions, your assessment.
Absolutely. And listen, Bloomberg was heavily here in Philadelphia yesterday, holding at the convention center. It was almost like going into a game at in an arena, and the lights were flashing, the wine and cheese were flowing. And, people who are on the ground, they're like, wait, we don't get this type of treatment. Well, it's a Bloomberg type of event. But outside of the fray, we got to really talk about, what Bloomberg's record is, right? Yes, he's a great business guy, but as it relates to policy, I know he's released, criminal justice reform. That's probably one of the best that I've seen thus far. But I do believe there is some opportunity here for him to rake up some of those votes. But he is tapping into some of Biden's support, because supporters of VP Biden are starting to see that there is a gap in terms of how VP is handling himself at town halls, what he's doing on the road, and really what his presence is as we look to the future of 2020. We can't even have the debate with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is now, has been acquitted, right? And he's going around holding up Washington Post papers in that effect. And now he's coming at everybody who, pretty much went against him. But there's opportunity here, for the rest of the candidates to really just put their message out, to really get into the grassroots organizations, local municipalities, and some of those community members who's really, undecided. But VP Biden has not put as much emphasis as he should have, in my opinion, in some of those clear areas where he feels like support is, and those organizations are, and thus we're having to see, the matchup.
But here's the other piece. All polls showed how well Biden was doing. He was tied for first, and Iowa comes in fourth. Mm-hmm. Bloomberg still has to prove he can win a state. So with all spending $100 million, whatever. So he is going to have to win on Super Tuesday. So he's not going to compete in New Hampshire. He's not going to compete in Nevada or South Carolina. His whole deal, if Bloomberg does not, he can't win one state on March 3rd.
No, he's got to run the table.
He's going to win several
all
states
his chips
to be able to show you're viable.
Yeah, and there has to be fairness in the process also. When you had, former Secretary Castro, when you had Corey to a degree, when you had some of these other candidates who were not being able to get on the stage because the DNC set the rules that they set. And they said, there was a reason for this because they were trying to, whittle it down to whoever was going to be the most, the candidate who had the best chance of winning. And then you change the rules in the middle of the game. I mean, there's something about that just does not sit right.
But here's the piece, though. The reality is, rules being changed. So, man, at the end of the day, we can sit and talk about, hey, it's not right, rules being changed, but they have been changed. But again, if you look at, what's going to be happening this year with the states voting on that day. Here are the states voting this year on one day. Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Democrats abroad, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, all on that day. Michael Bloomberg, if he is going to be a real candidate, he is going to have to take several of these states. He can't come in second or third because then it's going to be, hey, who are you? I mean, this is where, out of all the people, Sanders is sitting in the perfect position because at the end, with the number of people, we saw it in Iowa, you don't need 40% of the vote. You win 30, max 35, you win. You might literally see Sanders mirror what Trump did in 2016 by winning 30, 35% and being able to go to victory. Joseph.
Well, the process is insane. I mean, we start with a state that's not representative, right? We go to another state that's not representative. We have an oligarch who's parachuting in at the last minute trying to buy everything. And to the point of him having to answer for some of his racial problems in New York, his campaign ads feature him with Barack Obama in several shots. The patron saint of the black vote. Right, judge him fairly or not, but he's trying to tout this. He comes out with a plan talking about how reparations isn't just such a crazy idea. I mean, he's trying to get it done, but it is very high stakes, and he is going to have to at some point do some retail politicking, especially with the black community. It's not going to cut it. And the other question that I kind of want to know is, if not Biden, then who? Right? Who is the champion for African Americans left on the stage right now?
Well, guess what? The only way you're going to know that is who's actually able to pull the black vote. Right. And that's why what happens in South Carolina matters. When you look at these states here, it's going to be a lot of black folks voting in Alabama, voting in Arkansas, a lot of black folks in North Carolina, a lot of black folks there in Tennessee, Texas as well. But the keys also, look at Virginia, 20% of the population, African American. And so we'll certainly see what happens on those states. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, join Dr. Jackie Hood Martin as she engages others to think like a leader. Are you looking to enhance your leadership or that of your team in 2020? Well, you can join her newest online course and mastermind group, How Successful People Think. She'll be your guide as you learn timeless leadership principles to apply to daily living. The offer expires February 28th. To register, go to www.livetolead.com/Leesburg. That's LIVE number 2. LEAD.com/Leesburg. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.